Welcome to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast dedicated to people who want to speak more as a way to build their income and grow their business. Well, welcome everyone to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. We are thrilled that you are here with us. As we record, it's a hot summer day. I'm fresh off a week's vacation. That term is being used very loosely as we are knee-deep in cottage renovations up north. And I sit here, my lower back is just crying out, saying, why are you torturing me in this way? So I may be sounding a little bit hazy here on a Monday recording day, and that is indeed why. Today's podcast is brought to you by the Inner Circle Mastermind. It's a year-long program that we run for speakers who really want to scale their businesses. Perhaps you want to go from 75 to 150 or from 250,000 to $500,000 per year or on up to the seven-figure mark. Now, several people in this year's group, the group before the one that we're beginning in October, they're aiming for seven figures and they are focused hustle people. I think they are going to get there. And we have a really amazing group of speakers running through the program this year. You know, everything really changes at this level of income. And because we meet several times a month, we really make sure that people are staying on track and moving forward, staying accountable to their goals. If you're interested in becoming a part of this super cool group and you're earning over $75,000 per year, drop me a line, jane@speakerlauncher.com, and I'll send you over the details and an application, and we'll see whether or not it's a fit. Well, sometimes the stars align and we get to have some fun around here. And today's topic might not sound like fun, but it is expand your revenue streams through radio and books. And this amazing woman named Jane Jenkins Herlong, of course, how could I not like her? She's named Jane, is here to share what she knows about how to build your business using radio and book. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you, the other Jane.
We've been following each other. We were just have had like a little kinship now for many, many years. And I loved seeing you last month at NSA.
Yes.
So let me just give everybody your kind of formal bio, and then we'll go on from there. Combining her humor, life-changing truths, and award-winning singing, Jane adds pizzazz to her presentations as she inspires audiences to discover their gifts and to live a life filled with peak performance. Jane believes in proving people wrong and laughing your way to success. She is a member of the Speakers Hall of Fame, certified speaking professional, Sirius XM humorist, and best-selling author of 4 books. And we're going to dive into those last 2. Here she is to pour out her sweet tea wisdom and deep Southern fried humor. Welcome, Jane Jenkins Herlong. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you. You know, I've always wondered, what would Jane Atkinson think of sweet tea wisdom and Southern fried humor?
It sounds delicious.
I like that.
It sounds delicious, although I'd probably want to add a little vodka to the tea. That's the only problem that might be in the mix.
That's a Firefly or whatever it's called.
So fill in the background, and you today are a long-standing, well-known success within the halls of the National Speakers Association, but really, you've got a business that stretches way beyond there. Tell us where you started and how you got to here in kind of the Reader's Digest version.
Well, I kind of started, Jane, in my comfort zone, which was schools.
Okay.
You know, I'm a former Miss America contestant, moved to a tiny, small town, and thought, what am I going to do? And a cousin of mine said, why don't you do little programs for the kids? So when you're beginning a speaking business, you got to isolate that comfort zone that you know you're going to be successful to give you confidence to step out one little step further. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did for many years. I did a little self-esteem program. I had my signature story about being dyslexic and being told I couldn't and blah, 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 and threw some music in, and that just grew. And I grew as a speaker. I mean, if you can speak to kids on a Friday in an elementary school and junior high, God help us all, then you know you're good. Or you've got some kind of talent. God bless it all. So that's kind of where it all started. And then ironically, my having a family made me sort of put the brakes on, because I decided that as much as I talk about, being a good person, I was having to raise little people, and I just tempered that. But I also sought out the National Speakers Association, which is another good tidbit for anybody in this business. You need to go where the resources are, and don't be afraid to go. Don't ever think you know it all. It's still a learning environment, and you've got to open your mind. So it just took off from there, schools and associations, and just other things that just sort of, and it's been amazing to me. You just keep working at it, and it just unfolds.
So this is kind of a curveball question, but when you became a mom, did you decide that you were going to be more focused with your time that you spent on your business? So what shift happened in your business at that point?
Well, I realized that I only had, when they both got in school, I only had a window of time. 2:30 was when it was all over, and I would pick the children up from school, and I had to be extremely focused between about 9 o'clock till about 2 o'clock. And that's where I did my marketing, my calling, and creating material, working on new bits. But that window of time was huge because it was over. The clock was punched. So that was it. And that's important to me because I look back on that, Jane, and I'm really proud to say I'm very blessed to have two very good children. And one is right next door in this office, and it's wonderful to have her here. And she works with my husband as a financial planner, Caroline does. And I've got one that's still in college and kind of struggling a little bit, but he's getting there. But I'm happy I'm proud of that. I think I'm most proud of that because this, Jane, the speaking business will eat you up and spit you out in pieces. You've got to control it.
And you have a lot of glory in moments, and then you might go home to a poopy diaper, and it's all everything gets balanced in the world, right? I mean,
we're talking to a bureau cleaning a toilet.
Yeah, the kids don't care about your glory that you had a half an hour ago, but I got a standing ovation. They loved me. Yeah, they don't. They don't care. So kids are a really good ego tamer. Let's talk about, so you actually have come up through the ranks of school, which is a very hard thing to do. You obviously had the marketer in you to make this happen. What's been your secret sauce when it comes to your marketing? What are you really good at personally?
I'm really good at sealing the deal. I'm really good on the phone because I've learned the first person that speaks after you've spoken and presented everything, you need to shut up. But you also need to listen, and you need to be honest. When people have called me and said, we are looking for a speaker for blah, blah, blah. I remember somebody said time management. I'm in my pajamas and it was 3 o'clock. I went, Sweetheart, I will share names. That is not for me. Yeah. Because I don't want to make their event crappy.
Right.
If money's not worth it. Your reputation is worth it. So you need to be honest.
So your sweet spot, now we're talking about picking a lane, which is something that, of course, I talk to my clients about a lot. Your sweet spot has always had humor running through it. But what would you say you're known for now? Is it kind of peak performance has been where you've landed?
I think my life experiences that I've been able to put in 2 of my last books has set me apart as being someone who really does share some takeaways. And it's like, I call it mental wealth, Jane. I'm all about and it's because I've been down roads personally with family and seeing how anger and bitterness can really wreck people. And that I use humor to talk about it. I use a story about my Thomas going into this fabulous perk trip that he won with his company, and this woman just cussing him out. He apparently was so disturbed, 8 years of carrying this bitterness towards Thomas he never knew about. And I go on to expound and say it jumped on me and I was angry. And then I realized Thomas just threw it off because he said she has a problem. I'm not going to let her problem be my problem. And then I segue into, you know what? Life is truly like that bumper sticker that says, what if the hokey pokey really is what it's all about? And that is what it's all about, because you've got to do the right thing, which is the right foot, shake it off, turn it around, and learn from it. So you see what I'm saying? I take a situation that was heart-wrenching, and then I put that into a story, which is true, and there's some humor and some levity in it. Like when she looked at me and said, thank you for talking to me about this. Are you a psychiatrist? And I say, no, honey, I'm worse than that. I'm a professional speaker, and I'm going to tell everybody what just happened. So I have the levity, and then I've got more levity, and then I've got a life lesson. And then I say, okay, everybody stand up. Let's put your right foot in, shake, and every time you see someone that really bugs you, do this, and don't say a word. Everybody laughs. But it teaches the lesson of what do you do when you have impossible situations. Where I've been, I've lived through some impossible stuff.
Okay. So kind of just moving past the things that are the not so nice things in life. I get it.
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit in time. What came first? You wrote a book. Was that kind of a bit of a game changer for you? What was your first book called?
My first book was called Bare Feet to High Heels. Okay. And you don't have to be a beauty queen to be a beautiful person. And Jane, it goes way back to when we first started out. If you got a speech, you got a book. If you got a book, you got a speech. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, might as well write a book. And I remember the guy that did it, Jim Weems. Of course, it was self-published. And he said, this is funny. And I said, oh, hush, Jim, which meant continue,
Please tell me more.
Tell me. And he said, well, I'm going to send this to Oprah. I said, hush, which meant yay.
Yeah.
So he saw that it was a good book. And he did all Larry Winget's books, I was very honored. Mm-hmm. He thought it was funny,
High praise, yeah.
Yeah, I just let it ride because I'm thinking, who am I to get a big book deal? This is just back of the room. But that became a game changer for me because I got to put an author, published author, in the top, that first paragraph, which really is your second paragraph now, because your first paragraph has to be about what your deliverables are,
Right.
Then let's meet the person that can deliver, as you've taught me, Jane. And so then, but really, I started out singing in churches. And then to segue the songs, I would say, blah, 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 song. And then people came up to me and said, well, I got your CD, but I want your speaking. I said, you are kidding. And then it just evolved. And then I would start speaking. And then all of a sudden I dropped a funny line. And then I would say, do you have that humor? So people were telling me what they liked about me, which was very nice, But the book was a game changer. It truly was.
So you now have a book, and it's probably helpful in terms of back of room. Are you with adult audiences then at this point?
With all audiences?
Adult.
Oh, yes. I have segued. And what happens is the teacher would come up, and this is just how it works. Oh, we love that. Do you have a program we could do for the PTA? Or do you speak to school board officials? And then all of a sudden, you know how it works. Somebody in the audience is representing someone else. I spoke for a healthcare group the other day and got an inquiry to go back to Vegas to do this big gift shop convention. I'm going, yay, I love that. So you just keep, and Connie Podesta is pretty smart. She's very smart. And she always says, seed your speeches. So when you're speaking, say, when I speak to agricultural groups, or when I speak to women in business, and people going, oh, she speaks to women in business.
Right. So little subliminal stories that help people understand what all you're offering, but also what I think you were delivering. So yes, you've been good at closing business, but also you've been good at what I would call, quote unquote, be good marketing. You're getting more business because of being good on the platform. So Spinoff has probably been what started your career and what's kept it going.
Word of mouth, Spinoff, that's the most powerful. Mm-hmm. And I spoke to a group in June, and I'm starting to do unusual things, Jane. And I want to share this with your listening audience because I like to get to know people on a personal level. So the gentleman that hired me in Oklahoma, he and I was talking, we were talking about children. He has grandchildren. I don't have grandchildren. But he said, my favorite thing to do is to read a Bible story to my grandchildren. Well, first thing I did was find a great big Bible story book, wrote in it, thank you for the wonderful opportunity to speak, and put it in the mail. Didn't tell him, opens it. He's in the wow factor, Yeah. And then I sent him another email and I'll say, thank you so much. Y'all were great. By the way, if there are any other clients you think would like me, if you could share them or vice versa, blah, blah. So that's a really great marketing tool, And
so you're
then
asking for the business in just a very nice way.
You are, and and I love speaking for this group, and I love this gentleman. And then another thing I'm starting to do is I was in Billings, Montana last week, and speaking to a group of kids. They're leaders with the Angus Association, wonderful people. So I ended up meeting the guy head of the foundation. I talked to him. I sent him a check. Didn't tell him, just thank you note, check inside. I love what you do. I'm having a ball giving back part of my fee.
You made a donation to the foundation. Yes. Very nice.
Yes. The things I truly know or I really believe in, not all the time, or some groups don't have foundations.
Right.
Say, you know what, I believe so much in you, I'm going to make an investment. And let me tell you, that goes a long way.
It really does. Wow,
it's a great way to market too without marketing. If I don't get one piece of business, I don't care. I love what they're doing.
Do you do a lot of agriculture?
I do a lot of agriculture, and that's my sweet spot because I was reared on a tomato farm.
Ah, I did not know that.
Yeah. And so when I talk, so I've got a whole speech called Don't Throw Tomatoes at My Field of Dreams. And it's bullet points about what I learned on the farm. So see, everybody, if you want to create a great speech, go back to something that is simple and yet profound and create material. Yeah, it's fun.
Do you know Elaine Fraze? I'm going to make sure you guys connect because she does a lot in agricultural as well from a more of the business management family part of it. So
I know her name, but I would love to connect with her.
Okay, I'll connect you guys.
Thank you.
So let's talk about SiriusXM. How did the SiriusXM thing come about, and what has it meant for you in your business?
Well, I heard my colleagues on SiriusXM, and I studied the comedy, the time, the laughter, and I listened and I said, I can do this. So I got a Tascam recorder or a Zoom, which has the condenser mics. And I've graduated to that. I used to use a little digital and a big condenser mic. And Jane, I would not even charge a fee if I knew the acoustics were good. Oh my gosh. If the acoustics are good and you get this bellowing laughter like you're in a comedy club, this is all comedy stuff.
Right.
So I sent it to someone and he told me it wasn't good. And I'm thinking, it is good, doggone it. I know this is good. I divided up the bits. I cleaned it up. It sounds perfect. And I dumped it in a CD and I sent it anyway. Didn't listen to the naysayer. I just don't do that. That's where you laugh all your way being told no, ha ha, I'll show you. Yes. Not in an ugly way, but in a healthy way. And then I was speaking at an event and someone said, I just heard you on Sirius. I said, good grief. So I ran to the car, and I'd actually gotten rid of that channel because I thought I had too many wordy dirts. And honey, I got that channel back real fast. And then I understand that you can register with Sound Exchange and they'll pay you. So every month I get a lovely little check, which helps, and then people say, oh, I heard you on Sirius. And it gives you credibility in the marketplace.
It really does. Okay.
And I'm going to tell you what else that did. That led to the last book contract, which is a good one out of New York. Yeah.
Okay. So we've had books, we've had different flashpoints in your career, and this Sirius thing, which really came about through sheer determination on your part.
Absolutely. And that's one thing I can truly tell you, I'm determined. Don't tell me I can't. I'm going to try it, and I'll tell me if I can or can't. Don't you tell me. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Perseverance.
I get real passionate about that.
Well, I can tell. I can see you on Zoom. They can only hear you, but I bet they can hear it. I really think that that's a very cool flashpoint. And now we're up to your fourth book. Tell us what your fourth book is called and who published it.
Well, my third book got a good bit of traction, and that's how they look at you in a major publishing house. And you're following. You got to have that newsletter thing, just like you send out every week, Jane. It's really good, by the way. I enjoyed that.
Thank you.
And you gotta show them what you've got. And let me tell you what Dan Burris told me at NSA. Dan Burris said, I set up my computer and I'll say, this is my book. This is what it's about. This is who will buy my book. This is who you need to market this book to. And he said he had people fighting over the contract. He got a great advance. For Dan Burris, that was like, when I heard that, I said, okay, I can go home now. I can get on the plane and fly back. That was my big takeaway. But that is, you've got to show them what you've got. So the third book was called Bury Me With My Pearls. It was dedicated to my mother. We were close and she passed away. And she made that comment one time and we were in the hospital together. And I thought this will be a great book. And I could play on Amazon because Amazon was it for me. I got 150 people you reviewed one of my books, Jane. I can't remember, which I appreciate so much. I made a comment. And so that led my publisher to look to my agent and say, we can do better than this. So he got it through Hachette Publishing, which is Newt Gingrich is published with Hachette, Joyce Meyer, and Joel Osteen. That's Hachette Publishing. Those are the three main authors. Okay. So when I got the contract, I was blown away. But it was because they saw I'm on Sirius. I had success with this third book, and I've got a following. And all of that combined, the book is translated into several languages. It's entitled Rhinestones on My Flip-Flops, Choosing Exuberant Joy in the Midst of Everyday Mess-Ups.
I love it.
Funny. It's very funny, I will tell you. It's funny, and it's got some profound info. And as I travel and speak for women, I get a firsthand view of what women are struggling with and what people are struggling with, mostly women. And so the book is geared towards that. And I use the women of wisdom, the iconic wisdom of women of wisdom. And I talk about them, their flip-flops, their sparkle and shine moments, and some of them don't have them. And I use biblical women, deceived Eve, domestic diva Martha, blah, 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 salty Mrs. Lot, the ones that we heard the Bible stories about growing up. But it's not a preachy book. It's a real common sense book about being emotionally healthy, really.
I love it. Now, for those people who are women of faith, men of faith, how do you walk the line in business? So talk about that a little bit.
And I find, and I don't preach anything, I love to use stories and introduce the story like this. In our Sunday school class at our little tiny Methodist church, blah, 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 blah. Or let me tell you, one Easter Sunday, our organist, and I've got a funny story about her. I've got a funny story about our minister going and visiting a baby, newborn baby, and reaches down and mother's cradling it in her arms like mothers do. And he kissed the baby he thought was the head, but she was breastfeeding. And it's a very funny story. I've got that on, I think that's on Sirius. But anyway, so I love to include those little funny Southern church stories and other things, like in this little town, this little tiny place I live, Jane, so much humor here. And I love to write about the people, and they get excited when they hear their stories on Sirius or see it in the book, and I get their permission, and it's a lot of fun.
That's nice. So it sounds like it's something that feels very non-threatening. You're not preaching to anybody. You're just coming at it from who you are, and you're absolutely not trying to be anything but who you are.
Exactly. And I'm not trying to beat anybody over the head with a Bible. I think even if you might not be schooled in the Bible, I don't care. There are so many great proverbs. We can, like, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. Now, that just shows you about attitude, but a crushed spirit dries the bones. Don't hang around with those crushed spirit people because they will drop your bones too. And that's just saying stay away from people that are negative.
Right.
It's the same way of saying it, really.
Right. Right. All right. Well, I just wanted to address that because I'm sure there are people who are nervous about even saying, they have a background as a minister or something like that. And they've wondered, do I put this out on my bio, or because they're nervous that a company might say, oh, we're not going to have you speak because we're too concerned about that. And I think you just walk a nice, fine line on it, and you're going to get the business anyway.
You will. I mean, Nito Cobain always said the best speakers in the business come from speaking to youth and speaking in churches. And he said those two combined. And I mean, I'm fortunate that I've done both. I didn't even realize what a great tool that was. And listen, I take we use my phone, but people will think you're not paying attention. But I love to take notes on this new minister we have. He's got some of the best stories with humor, and oh my gosh, he's a wealth of, Larry Winkett's first speech was about the three heroes, and the Superman, the Lone Ranger, and I can't remember the third one, Batman. That was his very first signature speech, and he heard it in the church. A lot to be said for that.
I love it. You could definitely, if you're ever wanting to get material, there's definitely a lot of material there. So we've talked about some of your flashpoints. What would you say, what advice would you give today to yourself first starting out? If you were just starting out, what would you do differently?
Don't rush into evolving into your greatness of what you can deliver. You need to have a sheet of paper with a line, and you need to have things I can do now. And then you need to have the second column of things I should think about later. Don't mix up those two, because you will make mistakes financially if you try to do a demo video, Jane, when you're just not ready, because that thing's up for the world to see, and it's got to be good. Or releasing information or writing when you're not quite ready for that to be out there. You better be proud of whatever you put on the web and be ready and know who you are. That's why when I met with you the first time and we talked about branding, you helped me get focused. You helped me understand the process. And that's what people need to do. They need to know who they are. And if you want to be a good speaker, you speak. If you want to be a good writer, you write. If you want to be a good singer, you sing. You just do it. You might have these dipping down times, but you just have to pick yourself back up. And don't let that stop you. Don't let people keeping you off the platform saying, no, we've already hired a speaker. Well, then think about next year. Keep them on the B list. Reach out to them again. Say, hey, you got to keep reminding people you're out there. You can't let the negative stuff get you down. That would be the main thing I would tell myself as a younger version. Don't rush into what you should not be doing now because you haven't matured.
I love the now and think about for later list. Yeah. I think that's really, really good advice. And we're always talking here about the comparison game. Don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle or 30 years in the career. When you say that comparing yourself to others, I mean, that's the first thing speakers do when they start. They go and look at a whole bunch of other people's websites and start thinking that they need to be just like them.
Completely.
Yeah.
I think NSA has been such a valuable tool for me because when I first met, let's say, Willie Jolly, I love Willie. And we were in an elevator together. It was our first national convention, and we were like plastered to the walls. This is a funny story. And I looked at him and I said, I'm scared. He said, I am too. I said, what do you do? He said, I sing. Don't tell anybody. I sing too. Don't tell anybody. We didn't know what we were getting into. And Willie has always said to me, a few years ago, he said, Jane, how did we start out? I said, motivation, inspiration, humor. He said, what did we do? I said, we left it thinking we'd get more business. He said, what are we doing now? I said, motivation, singing, and humor, and inspiration. We're right back to where we started, Jane, because that's who we are.
Yeah. And you just can't not do it. I mean, it's part of who you are. And it's always been a little bit tricky. People who play instruments or sing, it's always just been a little bit more confusing to sell. But I think just standing tall and how it makes sense as a part of your presentation is perfect. And that's what you figured out how to do.
Yeah. I mean, I met this guy in Texas. He said he's a world-class tap dancer. I wish I remembered his name. And he said, I've done a whole program on tap dancing. I haven't gotten hired. I said, I could have told you that. Nobody wants that. I said, but do your speech, do your fun stuff, do your principles, sit down in a chair, have a bag with the element of surprise, put on your tap shoes while you're talking. Don't tell anybody what you're going to do. Have that fabulous song that you can really tear up and end with a dance. Why not? That's additional. That's what I do as a singer.
Yeah.
So give them the element of the wow factor, the element of surprise.
Love it. Love it. That's good advice. That's really good advice. So rather than trying to sell yourself the tap dancing speaker, it's just a little piece. It's like the lagniappe that they talk about in New Orleans. It's just a little something extra.
Yeah.
Like a bonus.
You can call it tap dancing on success. I mean, that's not interesting enough, but you could play with that and do tap turn and make it work. Yeah, it'd be fun.
Hey, you have so many funny stories. Talk about how you mine your life for humor. Like what goes through your mind when you're driving down the street that somebody else might not be thinking?
Well, like really and truly, I'm sitting here in this nice office. My husband is with New York Life. If I were to walk 5 steps and take a left, I'd be at the funeral home. And so I tell people, the first thing I thought of was when people walk in, I say New York Life or death. And people have really laughed about that. But for example, the funeral home woman, I think she's close to 90. Oh my God, she's fabulous. I mean, still does the funeral, still puts them down. And she tells me so many interesting stories. And that's really, you just collect. But one of the funnier ones was a funeral was taking place with a blended family, all these stepchildren. And she was opening the casket for the final viewing. And one of the stepchildren's phones went off at the most reverent part. It was her favorite song from her favorite musical, The Wizard of Oz. And everybody heard, ding dong, the witches did. Now, I'm telling you, I took that story. Of course, I got to call Lou Heckler to get him to polish it up for me,
Right.
Lou and I worked on it. And then we decided it would be really funny if the Betty, who was, it's all based on facts, but she goes up to the girl who had the faux pas with the phone in the song, loved her mother-in-law. And she said, are you okay? And her response was, if I only had a brain. So that was a little, it's not that big laugh, but it's a big, oh gosh, I've been there. My phone's been, what do you do? Well, you just got to find some humor so you can deal with it better. No disrespect meant for the occasion, but you've got to manage to get through that with a good positive attitude and say, hey, I made a mistake. So that's what I do. I listen to things.
But your brain comes up with that. And I do wonder, is that just something that's built into some people and maybe not as built in? Here's something that I think we could all be. We could all just be more aware of the funny situations that are going on around us. Let me give you an example. I'm talking to this Southern fried humor woman here, and in the background, my dog is having a dream and he's howling. I don't know if that made it to the recording, but I thought that was kind of funny. Anyway, he's like, I was thinking he was going to like being like one of those Southern hounds. Anyway, but that doesn't always, but I'm not always thinking that way.
Right.
And so I feel like I could be more aware of what all is going on in the midst. If I was out speaking all the time, I would be constantly mining my life for humor.
Well, that's true. And I do think you hit on something, because I'll go to the beach with all of my friends and something will happen and they'll look at me and say, what did you see? When we saw the same thing, but tell me how you saw that. We all went shopping and they went to Ann Taylor, all of them down at Ann Taylor. And there's a little tacky shop with Southern glitzy stuff called Dixie Divas. And I said, oh my God, that's me. So I love the rhinestones, honey. I'm like a crow. So I go into the Dixie Diva shop and they're down at Ann Taylor buying white blouses. I'm going, I'm so bored. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
But then I wrote a song called I'm a Dixie Diva in an Ann Taylor World. And it's all about your friends accepting your idiosyncrasies and how wonderful that is.
I
And
love
so
it.
that song was just born out of that one experience. So you got to think funny, and you got to try to make yourself. But I do think you're wired like that. My mother was wired like that.
And she was funny.
She was very funny. Oh my gosh, funny even after she passed away. Funny, because I would find things all over the house, which made me laugh, which I needed to because I was about to fall apart because we were very close.
Yeah. I think about my dad all the time, and I just smile and laugh because we had these goofy little family traditions and we had a lot of laughter in our family. I think we all have some little dose of humor in us, and we have a good time. And that's nice to be able to say that, because there's a lot of pain out there with a lot of families. And
oh, that's for sure.
Please know, I know how lucky I am. My mom's still living. She's 88 years old. We go to breakfast every Thursday at the place up the street, and kind of feels like a small town, even though it's not. Tell me what's the name of the town that you live in?
Johnston. It's about 2,500 people. Of course, I grew up down in Charleston, and we do have a home there that it's my parents' home that I maintain, and we enjoy going down there. But this is a little teensy place. I mean, just before I came, I got my drink. I went down to the drugstore and got my own drink and came back and said, charge it. I mean, it's just like the Andy and Meg. You
walked to the drugstore and back on your. Oh, that's so cute. That is adorable.
I fix it myself because Allison's not gonna get up. She's too busy on Facebook, honey.
I want you to. That's funny. I want you to take a picture that kind of depicts that, and we're gonna put it up in the show notes. Okay.
Oh, I'll take the drugstore. I'll have to go down there and take a picture of that.
Take a picture of the drugstore. And also,
get a picture out.
Let's put in the show notes. If people want to buy your books, where would you like them to go?
Well, the Rhinestone book is all over, which I'm very blessed that you can get at Barnes & Noble, blah, 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 Books A Million, on my website, where all books are sold for Rhinestones. But basically, if you go to janeherlong.com, HERLONG.com, and go to the products or store, you'll see everything there. Okay. Or Amazon. Amazon's got it all.
And your Jane is spelt as my Jane with no Y. So
no Y. We're not movie stars, but we really are.
This has been fun. I want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy, hectic schedule and your drugstore runs to come.
I'm going to go take a picture right now and send it to you, and you'll go, okay. Oh my gosh.
We're going to put it up on the show notes page so that everybody can see.
You can be a successful speaker, whatever pond you're landed in.
And I'm telling you. That's what I love about it. I live in a town of about 350,000 people. It's not big, it's not small, but when I go to the airport, I'm through security and sitting at the gate probably in about 10 minutes. And
no kidding, honey.
Just there are some things about that are beautiful.
No kidding.
Right?
Same deal. I fly out of Augusta, Georgia, and I just trip right through there.
Exactly. Yeah. In 2 hours in any direction, there's stuff. If we want stuff, there's stuff. 2 hours.
I know. Got a Walmart 20 minutes that way, 25
Well, thank you, Jane. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Wealthy Speaker Show. I know that people got some good ideas from this today, and I appreciate you being with us.
Well, I loved it, Jane, and thank you for all you've done to help me, because I do want to thank you and of all that you've tried to help me get myself focused, and you helped me in the branding, and you helped me figure out who I am. So I'll be eternally grateful for you for that. Thank you.
No problem. And with that, we will say, give us a rating. Give us some, let us know in your comments how you've enjoyed these shows. And we'll see you soon, Wealthy Speakers. Bye for now, everyone. Thanks for listening to the Wealthy Speaker Show. Please visit speakerlauncher.com for your free Wealthy Speaker audit, and visit speakerlauncher.com/podcast for show notes and many more resources to help you catapult your speaking business. See you soon, Wealthy Speakers.